A customer asked if the loop had started yet. I froze behind the counter. The words were calm, almost polite, but the syllables hung in the air like smoke, curling around the hum of the fluorescent lights. I had been here for hours. Midnight shift at a convenience store on a quiet highway where the only traffic was the occasional logging truck or the same beaten-up sedan that passed twice in 10 minutes. Outside, the fields stretched black, featureless, and still. Inside, the lights flickered once, twice, then steadied. The customer wore a dark coat, a hood pulled low, and their hands were in their pockets. They didn't look at me, didn't glance at the shelves. They just waited. I'm sorry, I said. My voice sounded foreign even to me, thick with exhaustion. The loop, they said again. Has it started? Their tone was not impatient, not mocking, just factual, as if it were a question that had been asked and answered 1,000 times. I glanced at the security monitors behind me. The feeds were normal at first. Empty aisles, the door closed, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Then one flickered. The timestamp glitched. 11:47 p.m. I remembered glancing at the clock when I started my shift. 11:47 p.m. But that was an hour ago. Or was it 2? The customer stepped closer. Their boots echoed softly against the linoleum. I noticed something impossible. My reflection in the glass cooler behind them lagged. It moved slightly behind me, delaying my gestures by a beat. I waved, and the reflection hesitated before doing the same. I don't know what you mean, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. You know, they said, as if reading my mind. The loop. It's time again. Has it started? I shook my head. I'm new here. They tilted their head, a motion so slow it could have been deliberate or a trick of the light. No, they said. You're not. Not for this one. The words sank like stones. I felt the air thicken. The hum of the refrigerators became a low thrum in my chest. My fingers itched to touch the registers to check the tape, but I knew, somehow, that it wouldn't matter. I turned back to the monitors. One of the cameras showed the aisle behind me, but not empty. My own body stood there stocking shelves I hadn't touched. Another monitor flickered. I was folding chips, dropping a jar of pickles, waving at a customer who hadn't entered yet. My voice on the feed echoed the polite thank you I would give exactly in perfect timing. I stumbled back. I don't understand. Of course you don't, the customer said, voice softer now, like a lullaby. You never do the first time, or the second, or the... They paused. I wanted to ask how many, but my throat was too tight. You'll see. The registers beeped. I looked down. The last receipt printed itself. I recognized the items. I had rung them up already exactly. The numbers matched my handwriting on the paper log behind me, though I had no memory of writing it. The pen was still warm. Car horn outside. I looked up. The same sedan from before. It stopped at the lot. The driver waited. Then it pulled away, only to return moments later, repeating the same motion. Twice, 3 times. Time had lost its shape. I went to the back room to check the stock. Everything was the same. The same box of energy drinks had toppled, the same half-empty carton of milk. The smell of cleaning fluid lingered where I had never cleaned. A calendar on the wall showed today's date, then flickered to yesterday, then tomorrow. All at once. The customer didn't move. They were always there when I looked, sometimes closer, sometimes just out of the corner of my eye. Their question repeated itself in my head. Has it started? I sat on the floor, trying to breathe, trying to anchor myself. And then I remembered. I had done this shift before. The same gestures, the same small mistakes. Dropping a candy bar, pressing the wrong button on the register, greeting a car that would never stop. I had been the narrator in this loop, the silent observer. And now I was the character again. The monitors started changing faster. The shelves behind me were stacked differently, then returned to the exact order I had arranged them. The reflection in the cooler was no longer just delayed. It was anticipating me, moving before I did. The fluorescent lights buzzed with a frequency that made the back of my skull throb. I could hear it, too. A soft hum beneath the hum of the store, a vibration under the linoleum, something cyclical like a pulse. I realized then that the loop wasn't just the night or the store, it was me. Every motion, every word, every transaction. I was repeating endlessly. The customer leaned forward slightly. "Do you want to try breaking it?" I laughed, though it sounded hollow. "How?" "By noticing," they said. "By remembering. By seeing it for what it is. Or by joining it. Either way, you'll understand soon enough." I went back to the counter. The receipt lay there already printed. The registers hummed in recognition of my touch. Outside, the sedan passed again, impossibly, looping down the road. I reached for the door, hoping the night beyond would offer escape, but it felt heavier now, like a wall pressing in. The monitors flickered again. One showed me from behind the counter, another from the parking lot, another from above. In each, I saw myself doing the same things I had done before. Smiling politely at the customer, nodding at the same cars, folding the same chips, and always the customer watching, asking the same question. I realized, then, that the loop had started long before I arrived tonight. Maybe before I was ever hired. Maybe I had always been inside it, and each shift was just another cycle, another repetition. My reflection smiled at me from the cooler, a half-second too late, then froze. I turned to the customer. They seemed unchanged, calm, eternal. "I don't want it," I said. "You never do," they replied. The lights flickered one last time. I blinked. When I opened my eyes, I was back at the counter, the registers humming, the receipt waiting. The clock read 11:47 p.m. The fields outside stretched black and still. The customer's hooded figure stepped inside. "Has it started yet?" I tried to answer, but my voice caught in my throat, and I realized with a sinking certainty that I didn't know if I was about to break the loop or if I had already become part of it. And then the fluorescent lights hummed in perfect synchrony, as if confirming my place. I was stacking cans when it started. The fluorescent bulbs overhead shivered, dimmed, then brightened in uneven pulses. The hum of the lights pitched up, then down, like someone was breathing through the wires. The first time I noticed it, I thought it was just the power line acting up. Then I heard the scream. It was far away, or at least it should have been. Hollow, stretched across the night. But each pulse of the lights matched the rhythm of the sound, perfectly timed, impossibly precise. I froze, my fingers hovering over a line of soup cans. The hum of the lights seemed to sync with the scream. My pulse tried to keep pace. The store was quiet otherwise. Only the faint buzz of the coolers, the low whir of the ceiling fan over the aisles, and the occasional drip from the sink in the back. Empty, sterile, familiar. But the air had changed, thickened. I could taste it. Metal, dust, and something else sour and sticky. I walked down aisle 3 to straighten a display of chips. The cans leaned away from me, subtle but deliberate, wobbling when I wasn't touching them. I swore I felt the shelves shift slightly as I passed. My reflection in the glass cooler lagged a fraction of a second behind me. I spun, nothing. The scream rose again. The lights pulsed. I put my hands over my ears, but the vibration didn't just go through sound. It rattled the floor beneath my boots, the counter beneath my palms. I realized I was moving slower than I thought. My legs felt thick, uncooperative, as if I were swimming through the air itself. I tried to call the store in. My phone wouldn't connect. No bars, nothing. The registers beeped when I pressed the buttons, but no transaction printed. I stared at the empty receipts. They lay there like blank eyes staring back at me. Another flicker. The scream, a long, drawn-out wail now, filled the corners of the room. The lights blinked in unison, then all went dim for half a heartbeat. Silence. Complete. The hum stopped. Even the coolers seemed to pause. I held my breath. Then, as the lights flickered back, I realized the store was watching me, or responding to me. The aisle signs tilted, the letters curling slightly, like eyebrows raised in mockery. The cans shifted closer when I turned my back. The floor seemed to slope toward the entrance, subtly, coaxing me forward. I tried to step, but the air thickened with resistance, like walking through syrup. I checked the security monitors. One showed the empty parking lot, the flickering lights outside mirroring those inside. But another monitor, the one angled toward aisle 3, showed me standing there, stacking cans I hadn't touched yet, eyes wide, mouth opening, screaming silently. My movements were delayed, off by half a second, but the reflection was precise, knowing, patient. The scream dropped an octave. The lights dimmed in response. I realized I could feel it in the distance now, an intelligence in the sound, probing, testing. Each wail pulled a response from the bulbs, each pause a question. I thought I was listening to it, and then it was listening to me. I moved toward the door. My hands grazed the cooler glass. The condensation ran up, not down, tracing fingers I didn't have. The soda cans rolled on the shelves without anyone touching them, like tiny planets orbiting some invisible axis. I realized the store itself was alive in some subtle way, not sentient in a friendly sense, but aware, attuned to the rhythm of my fear. Another flicker, another scream, this one shorter, sharper, like a child screaming into a well. I whipped around. No one. But the shadows stretched, forming angles they couldn't in reality, corners that didn't exist when I wasn't looking. The reflection in the cooler smiled at me. I didn't. I tried to step backward. The floor pitched again, tiny shifts, barely perceptible, but enough to make me stumble. I gripped the counter. The hum returned, low and menacing, vibrating through my bones. Then it stopped. The lights held steady. Silence. And I realized it had stopped waiting for me. I glanced at the security monitors. One of them, just one, showed the parking lot. Empty. Except for a figure standing at the far edge, impossibly tall, impossibly still. It had no discernible features, just a black silhouette, blending with the night. And yet I knew it was the source of the scream, or the scream was it. Every pulse, every flicker, every sensation of pressure, fear, and dread in the store had radiated from that figure. Then the figure moved, or rather, it shifted, sliding like liquid, leaving no footprints, making no sound. But the lights blinked in perfect harmony with each subtle motion. My stomach lurched. I realized with a sick certainty that it had been there the whole time, observing, orchestrating, playing with me. The scream wasn't far. It had been here, just out of my perception, bending the store to its will. I backed into aisle 5. The chips toppled toward me, forming walls, corridors, traps. The coolers leaned slightly, blocking exits. The ceiling fan slowed, then spun fast, faster than physics should allow. My reflection in the glass split, two versions of me staring from opposite ends of the aisle. One version mouthing "run," the other frozen in fear. The lights flickered again. I wanted to scream, but the air felt dense, pressing against my lungs. My own voice seemed to come from somewhere behind me, a second me whispering in the wrong tone. I knew the scream would return, and when it did, the lights would answer, the reflections would follow, the store would respond, and I would be trapped in the rhythm, caught in the intelligence that had been waiting, watching, pulling me closer with each pulse. I didn't move, couldn't, and the lights flickered in time with the next wail, closer now, impossibly close, synchronized perfectly with the beat of my own heart. Then, for a brief second, it stopped. The bulbs went steady. The coolers hummed a single note. Silence. Perfect, unnatural silence. And I realized that the scream was inside me, or maybe I was inside it. The store's lights flickered again, and I knew that whatever waited outside, or in the shadows between the aisles, was patient, waiting, and now it was listening to me. I blinked. The lights pulsed. The scream rose in the distance, or maybe it was never distant at all.